You're listening to the Heroes Powerhour presented by BlizzPro.com. Your hosts, Balrog fan Zexorus and DJ Tyrant. What is up, everyone? Welcome to the Heroes Power Hour. This is episode 103. We are a Heroes of the Storm podcast brought to you by BlizzPro.com and partnered with Legion by Lenovo and Intel. As always, I'm your host, DJ Tyrant. With me is the wonderful crew. We have Zexorus. How are you doing? How was your week in games, my friend?
It was fantastic. Actually, no, it was absolutely horrible. Heroes was fine. Heroes was
there
great.
You go.
But
yeah.
there was a stupid leveling event for a stupid MMO that one of my friends plays, Tree of Savior.
Mm-hmm.
And God, like 2 days in, I was done. Like, you could take a character from base level to full within that time, and we got several characters full, and I just wanted to shoot myself by the end of it.
Oh my goodness.
It was monotonous.
Yeah. I never told you guys, but like years and years ago, back in like 2010, I play tested a Korean MMO. That's all you need to know about that.
What Korean?
I forget.
Korean MMO?
I forget what it was called, but it
was Maple Story event.
It was awful. And you could D-level and stuff. It was awful. You die and lose like 4 hours of progress. It was amazing. Anyways,
did it have quests where you're just killing mobs for 75 levels?
Yeah, pretty much. P Flame G chiming in there. How are you doing, man?
I'm pretty good. I got tilted last night playing games with Willie. I was playing Sonya, laning against a Zagara and a Butcher. Mm-hmm. And Leoric was like, "Why aren't you pushing out and clearing the creep?" It's like, okay, I'll show you what happens. And 5 seconds later, I died. Because pushing out against a Butcher and a Zagara.
Oh my goodness.
It was funny.
Wow. Jeez,
at the end of that game, he goes, "I know I shouldn't be tilted by that, but I am. I might be back late."
Wow.
Okay.
There you go. There you have it. Balrog fan, how are you doing, my friend?
Pretty good. Another great week. Played a lot of Heroes with the crew and just random games besides that. I've been playing XCOM 2 and stuff, you know.
There you go.
Nothing earth-shattering. Just just a normal week.
Yeah, for sure. As for myself, just been playing Heroes, and I know a lot of you are tuning in because we teased it out. Well, we didn't really tease it. We just told you. We're going to be interviewing BadBenny. It's a pre-recorded interview, but we'll be coming up with that really shortly here. I wanted to go over some news really quickly. Feel free to chime in if you have any opinions, but trying to keep this short. But Heroes 2-year anniversary event started today. Play games for free loot boxes and cosmetics. One game each day, you get a free loot chest, and then playing 3 games during the event gets you an anniversary spray, anniversary portrait, and banner that lasts between May 30th, which is today if you're watching live, to June 12th. As well as the Heroes soundtrack has been put out on many music services, including YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Music. Check out the Heroes page for links to those. Also, as part of the 2-year anniversary event, looks like there will be a stream on Monday, June 5th, talking about the new hero coming to Heroes of the Storm. We don't know who this is currently. Kel'Thuzad. Yeah, there you go.
It's gonna be.
There we go.
Hogger. Hogger.
I
don't know. I don't know World of Warcraft characters. I just know that Kobold everyone always
Blizzard.
mentions.
He's
not even a kobold.
He's a null. If Blizzard releases Hogger, Blizzard, you have to make him like 95% win rate day one.
Yep.
You have to.
Yep.
You can have like normal bounce stuff ready for day two, but level like day one, crush everybody.
There you go. But yeah, they're going to be talking about the newest hero, and I don't know if this means they'll be announcing it that day or earlier, because I think Ativa released on May 9th, and if they're talking about this new hero on June 5th, that would mean it's been 4 weeks since a hero release, which is longest we've gone in a little bit. But I'm excited to hear about new heroes as always. We'll see how that is. And the last little bit of quick news is apparently Tomb of the Spider Queen is broken, and the AoE damage on the Web Weavers no longer does AoE wave clear damage. Blizzard did respond that they're looking into it. That was the last update we heard from them, so hopefully that'll be resolved soon.
I thought I saw a tweet like recently saying it was fixed, but it wasn't like a Blizz tweet.
Okay, well, maybe it's fixed. What we're gonna do, unless any thoughts on this quick news, real quick, before we go into our interview. Any thoughts from anyone, or we'll just jump into this interview?
Nothing really to say. Fun events.
Okay.
Good times.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, we had the awesome opportunity, as Exodus and Balrog fans sat down with BadBenny from Team Expert yesterday to talk all things HGC, as well as just everything heroes and aspirations in esports and all that. So we're going to go ahead and mute. So enjoy the interview. It's about half hour long, but we'll be back with a build for Malfurion and then talk about all this HGC drama. See you on the flip side.
Alright everybody, this is Balrog Fan here from the Heroes Powerhour. I've got Sexorus, and we have a very special guest. We have the co-captain and shot caller for Team Expert, and that is BadBenny.
Actually, from when this is recorded, I'm the real captain now.
You're full captain now.
Oh, promotions.
I'm the full captain.
That's awesome.
Nice.
But thanks for having me. And yeah, hopefully I can answer your questions and be entertaining at the same time.
Yeah, thank you for agreeing to do the interview. We're highly appreciative of it. It's great that you're taking the time out of your day to talk with us. Though it's like what, midnight over there in Sweden?
Yeah, it's 12 o'clock right now.
Yeah,
so we're really appreciative of it.
Yeah, definitely. So what was it like growing up in Sweden? Did you ever think you'd be competing with people from around the world growing up, or?
I mean, my experience with video games in general has always been more than most of the people I know, like my circle of friends and so on. Like I always were the kid that played games and were super good at it, and somehow that translated into me being a professional.
Right.
I mean, it obviously took a lot of hard work, but I don't know. I usually get very attached to the games I play and things in general. So when I really like something, I just invest so much time in it until I become really good.
What were some of the games, following up on that, what were some of the games you played when you were growing up?
I mean, childhood games were like, I don't know, me and my friends had, we played Pokemon and stuff on a Game Boy, and then classic Nintendo games such like Zelda, Mario games. I really liked like Ratchet and Clank and Jack and Dexter on PlayStation. Those were like two of my favorite games on that console.
Good classics right there. Good selection. I like it. I like it.
And then when I started playing computer games, I played Warcraft 3, like not the only custom games, but like the real RTS game a lot. So that's when I started tryharding a bit more. And I think I was really good at it, but I mean, for not playing competitively or anything, but I think I was like up there. But this game was just kind of dead at that time.
Yeah. I remember Warcraft 2 Battle.net version coming out. Like that was its own special release, and I was super excited about that because personally, the group of friends I played with, like we played StarCraft and Brood War, but we were like at heart Warcraft fans. So when that came out, it's like great. We don't have to
tie up our phone line trying to play each other, you know, because the only option for old Warcraft was, you know, you had to dial into somebody, and that was so painful. But moving on real quick, I have a question for you as well. Now,
Yep.
you've played on previous teams in the past. You've played on E-Punks. You've played on Fnatic, if I remember correctly. Evil Murkies.
No,
No?
that's a bit wrong. No, I played. Actually, didn't play on any like real professional team before this one.
Really?
I played with ADR in the Sandwich Monkeys, and before there was another team that we were just outside of the professional zone.
Okay.
But,
okay,
I
then.
mean, I was known in the scene, I think, but I wasn't really on those top teams.
Liquipedia lied to me then, because I pulled up your tournament history on Liquipedia, and it said you're on E-Punks and Fnatic, couple and Evil Murkies.
Oh, that wasn't me. That's weird.
That's so weird. Okay, well, you mentioned you played on semi-pro teams in the past. I assume you had a chance to participate in the old format of how Blizzard used to do things, the regional qualifiers.
Yeah.
Now, the burning question for me was, how much more do you like the HGC format over the previous regional qualifier format? What is your opinion? Do you feel better about the HGC with having games every week compared to whatever you did in between regional qualifiers in the old format?
I mean, obviously for consistency and like the safety as a player, having the new age format is way better. But obviously you miss out on going to LANs, which was also like a really fun thing of being a professional gamer. Unless like even if you're getting to every LAN, it's like, I don't know, half of the LANs compared to the previous format.
Right.
I think something like that.
Right. So you do miss that. So, and I kind of had a smaller follow up to that. Now, the regional format, you had these big gaps of time between qualifiers. So you had time to go to LANs. You had time to I would assume, schedule huge blocks of scrims in that time. Is it easier to schedule scrims in the current HGC format, or did you have an easier time previously?
I don't think I've ever had much trouble in scheduling scrims, to be honest. Like, the teams you play like every week is more consistent now, because okay, we're like rank 4 in HGC right now, so usually you play some of the above teams and some of the below, usually, like, so you have like, there are some teams we haven't played much at all and some teams we played a lot, and before it was very random what kind of team we practice against, like during an average week. So that's the biggest difference about that I can think of.
Okay.
So recently Heroes 2.0 hit, and from a casual standpoint, we've loved it. I'm curious what the pro scene kind of how they feel about it. I mean, from what I see on Twitter, it's sort of positive, but was it an adjustment or?
I mean, obviously it's a bonus for everyone, but the thing about a lot of pro players is that they, as like they're professionals, they care about the in-game more than the outside. But as I said, it's a bonus, and I don't think anyone can say they don't like it. You can, it's much more fun and like.
Well, some heroes got pushed a little, like Uther, for example. He got.
Oh, you mean change? I thought you meant like the cosmetic loot box and all that.
Yeah.
The patch, I think it's fine in general. Like, we've been playing on the latest patch now since playoffs, and it feels pretty good. I would say, like, there's a lot of viable heroes, and in general, you can try out a lot of things, but there's not something that's like super OP, I feel. Yeah. There's always some strong picks, but
let's a minor follow up to that. Diva, you're a tank player, if I remember correctly, correct?
Yeah, main tank.
Yeah. How And I play tank too, and I hold a lot of sadness for Chen right now. I don't think Chen's in a good spot. But how do you feel about Diva? Do you think she's going to make an impact when she becomes available to the pro scene?
I think she definitely has a spot. We obviously, since she came out like not that long ago, we haven't seen her full potential yet, but we've been practicing with her a bit and against her, and in some situations she seems super strong, and in others not so much. So
right, yeah, like the problem I have with her is she has a potential 4 health bars.
Yeah,
that just seems silly to me.
In an uncoordinated environment, it's probably much more annoying to deal with, but then the counterbalance to that is that she doesn't really do that much unless her team is following as well. So
yeah,
if maybe your team is not doing much to her, but she alone is not doing much to your team usually.
Yeah,
but a lot of a big competitive aspect is that the self-destruct is basically like her real ultimate. A lot of people feel like just the other ones are a bit lackluster, and that one has huge impact, and it can be combined with other spells such as Void Prison or
Leyline.
Gust people into Leyline.
God, I'm having nightmares already. That just seems so terrifying.
Another important aspect of it is that, let's say, Infernal Shrines, like you get like 30 minions, enemy team has like 30 as well around, and then you just pop the self-destruct and you have to run away or take a bad fight. So it can give you super favorable scenarios if you use it correctly.
Yeah, we were messing around with it. I was messing around with her on Haunted Mines, and she almost ensured the big golem. Like every time if self-destruct was up, like you just simply couldn't fight.
Just have to run away.
You know, you had a Tassadar Force Wall into the mines right there, and they're not getting away. It's just, and that's one thing that makes me sad is I don't see Force Wall Tassadar anymore, and it's just, I'm so in love with that ability.
We actually played around with it quite a bit, but right now Tassadar is compared to the last, I don't know how long he was first ban, but now he's actually not that prioritized. We still see him sometimes, but
yeah, he's not bad. It's just Uther just does so much more.
Yeah, other double supports have.
Tarand, how do you feel? How does your support players feel about the Tarand rework? Because it seems incredibly silly, like having Pierce built into the bird now.
The thing about Tarand is, like you said, support players. With the recent changes, Tarand is not a support anymore. Like,
that's
the support play will never play Tarand anymore.
So she's more of an assassin now.
Yeah, like you could say she does what Mediv / Zarya does a bit with the shielding. Like she's the backup support kind of, but she's not super good at it. So she has kind of a weird spot right now. I haven't seen her too much, but.
Alright,
she probably needs a few buffs or changes before she's like viable competitively.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or in very certain situations.
Heroes fall in and out of the meta all the time. Do you have like a hero you like playing that's currently not in the meta really, but you really enjoy playing them anyways when you get the chance?
I really liked playing Chen actually, as you said before.
He picked my favorite hero.
And I liked Rexar a lot, but he's just like I've been trying to get into work, and we played him. We play Rexar main tank a few times, not since HGC, but we did it before.
Right.
And it has its niches, but it's like so hard, and the other hero just does it better usually.
Charlie, I've got to ask him the question: what changes would you make to Chen?
Honestly, no clue. Maybe a bit talent diversity, and I think his kit is okay, but you can never make him like OP with his current kit. Like if you buff him too much, he's gonna be like, he's gonna break the game. And it's super hard to find the perfect balance. I feel it feels like Shen is more impacted by the meta than himself being good or bad. Like I think the hero is fine, but lacking a bit of talent diversity. But it's just that against so many other things,
Yeah.
it's hard to get value from.
I wish I'd see accumulating flame taken more, because I love that ability. Like it lets you just go incredibly aggro on people, and then once you finish that quest, you're just allowed to be extra aggressive onto people with that resistance he gets every time. But like I've been saying here recently, when you pick Chen, you win the solo lane, and then you lose the game.
Usually, yes. I mean, that's where the barrel comes in, but there's so much things that are good against the barrel or can counter-engage when Chen goes in, so
yeah,
like you have to outdraft enemies a lot to win with it, I think, like, or for it to be for it not to be a downside to your draft.
Right.
We'll
We'll move on, because we're getting heavily distracted, and we've got some more questions lined up. Are there any changes to the HGC tournament format that you'd like to see? Example, maybe a league point system instead of the win-loss system. So you'd play every team 2 to 3 times. A 2-0 victory in the case of 2 games. In the case of a 2-0 victory, you get 3 points. A tie is 1 point for both teams. Would you like to see any changes, or are you just completely fine with how the HGC is run right now?
I really haven't thought about it. I think I'm fine with the current state. Oops. But I was thinking, like, we're the team that has the most 3-0s during the whole phase 1.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and we all, like, even though we lost 2 more games or 3 more games than like rank 3 and 2, we still had almost the same like map score as them. So if that were a thing, we would probably be like rank 2 or probably rank 1.
That's true.
We would be
actually
way higher up if that was a thing. But I can't say if it would be better or worse. I don't have a real opinion on it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fair. When it comes to like shot, so you're the full captain now. Do you like come up with the draft strategies and do the shot calling? Like what's it like shot calling versus expert?
Draft strategies are mostly on ADRD. Like, so we will go into the draft. He usually has the main idea, and that has always been his thing. And then the rest of us just try to help out. And sometimes he asks, you think this hero is good here, blah blah blah, and then we come with our input as well.
Mm-hmm.
But he's like the main leader when it comes to that. And then in game, I do like most of the, like, when you're a shot caller, you don't
close your door.
like. In my opinion, you shouldn't say everything. At least some shot callers, I'm not gonna mention names, but they do it that it's basically that they say everything in the game and no one else can speak almost. That's the impression I get from hearing it, at least. And I don't think that's the correct approach. I think shot caller should be the one that, like, you call the macro rotations and so on in the beginning of the game, and then all the players should like provide information and think of things themselves. And then the shot caller, like, if there's ideas clashing, the shot caller make this decision of, let's go for this or go for that, blah blah blah. And then late game it's even more important.
Right, and that seems to be a common thing. Like, it's either the shot callers are either very micromanagey about everything and want to control every aspect, or there's your style, which is just, it's let players use the experience they have with the game as well, and you kind of be the organizer for everything.
Yeah, I mean, a scenario would be that, okay, we in the beginning of the game, I say, okay, we start on the lanes like this, or if I'm not sure, I ask, like, what do you think we should do, and then we talk about it a bit, like, before the game starts, and yeah, we get into the game, we split up on lanes, however it's called, and then, okay, I see opportunity that we send this hero top, so I say, okay, Nick, you can go top after this wave, or like, we can rotate for easy camp, and then obviously they should look for things themselves, like, if someone is at a solo lane, they can say, this guy is low, we can gank him, and then another guy says, I can go here, and if it doesn't interfere with my plans, then I just let it happen. And if I think something else is better, I say, but we should go for this instead, or so. I don't know. that kind of stuff.
It's it's a lot of work to be a pro, especially the shot caller. So it sounds like you put in a lot of time with Team Expert. How long have you guys been together now as a solid group?
So yeah, we when this is recorded, we actually like officially made the last roster swap for like Blade is out now and Affair Angel is in, and some people might have noticed that we played 3 HGC games with Affair already, and a tournament before this last part started with him. And we've been practicing with him during the HGC weeks as well. But before this switch, I think I don't actually know. I can't say on top of my head, but I think almost a year since we started the team, like in the beginning. But then it was like first Blade, and then me, and then like a month later Ediardi, and a month after that Curson joined, and some months after that Nick joined. So it's like, I don't know exactly what you mean with if you want the full group or...
Oh no, just in general, how long you've been with Expert. It seems like...
Oh, you mean as the org or the team?
The org. You seem kind of the face of the Heroes team a bit. Yeah, I see you.
Yeah, the org we've been with since 2017. So we went to the summit after qualifying for HGC, and then at the same time we managed to get a sponsor or org as Expertise, and then they provided us with some stuff and shirts obviously too. Yeah, when we were at the summit we took media pictures and so on for HGC season, and yeah, we wore their shirts and so on. So yeah, 6 months now I think with Expert, and I think at least 4 of us played together for like 4 months before that, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So let's touch on the first half of Phase 1. You guys got out to a really strong start. I think you guys went 4-0 at the start. And then you guys hit a little bit of a skid, which I know can be frustrating. Everyone gets frustrated over accumulating losses. How did you guys, and then you guys, kind of found your rhythm again a bit. What were some of the things you guys did to help you bring yourselves out of that slump and get back on a winning pace?
So I don't think we took it. I mean, we obviously took it out. We wanted to qualify for the first Western Clash, and we started out 3-0. It was before we lost 3 in a row. Like we were 3-0 and then 3-3. And each of those, like the series against Dignitas, I think, was the most important one, because we played Fnatic and Dignitas like 1 week, and after that we played Liquid the next week. And those are like the top 3 teams of Europe.
Right.
Yeah.
Relatively known, I would say. So we knew that if we beat Dignitas, because I think they had lost against Fnatic and Liquid already, so if we beat them, we would be in a good spot to go to the Western Clash. But as soon as we didn't manage to do that, that was obviously depressing, and we tried our best in the other series, but we kind of lost the motivation a bit until I don't know, in my case at least, like the drive wasn't there as much, because we knew we wouldn't qualify regardless of what we did.
Right.
But I mean, what can we do? We just keep on playing, try to improve, and do better next season.
Okay.
And, I don't know, we didn't really have any, rituals or anything to get us back in the mood or motivation to play, but I think we all dealt with it differently, each our own.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, you're a great team and you're a lot of fun to watch, and we really appreciate having you on this podcast. We watch every week and we try to talk as much HGC as we can, so it's very exciting for us to have had you on the show.
Yeah, it's absolutely wonderful. We love having you here. We love having to actually talk with a pro who is knee deep in the scene, and good luck to you guys in Phase 2.
Thank you.
Looking for great things. I know Charlie's a big ADRD fan. Go back if you
And
go back to some of our podcasts, and like he's just on the ADRD train. He just was a giant fan.
we had picks too, and I was picking you guys like every week because we try to pick who's gonna win, and then yeah. But
It worked some weeks.
you guys got me a lot of points. I'm not complaining.
That's good.
You could have always
So
done the
welcome.
pick against Niventic strat.
Oh yeah.
That's what I did. Niventic
works, that
playing,
works.
pick against them.
I mean, they're back in HGC. Hopefully with some roster changes.
There's actually one more question that I just thought of just now. Looking with the Crucible having come and passed at the time of this recording, you've gotten a look at the NA amateur scene and the EU amateur scene, and I personally feel the EU amateur scene is vastly better than what the NA scene is. You know, if you look at the Crucible scores for NA, Niventic I think swept whoever they were playing, or
that
is it
was
4-2?
4-2.
Was it 4-2? Okay, and then Even in Death just got rolled by No Tomorrow.
Yeah.
But if you look at the EU, and like I look at the rosters for Even in Death and Imported Support, and I used to cast some NA amateur scene, so I recognize some of the names, but they're not on the level of what EU's quote amateur scene is. You see Grand Paqueta, you see Shad, you see old Liquid pros, you see old like Navi pros and stuff like that on these rosters, and it's just a night and day difference. You know,
Yeah.
do you share my feelings on the EU amateur scene being just vastly better than the NA amateur scene?
I mean, I would say that both Zealots and like especially Zealots, but also the newer Gangnam team, like they're more of a what's it called, like question mark so far.
Okay.
Like I don't really know how they will do, but I think Zealot is like, even when they didn't qualify, they were still like one of the better teams in Europe. I wouldn't put them like below HGC teams,
Right.
even during like the open division. Say, I think obviously Europe had two weaker teams that stood out, except that I guess BGenius won against Playing Ducks and tricked the last few weeks, but it's hard to say if that was because they played super well or the other teams played bad.
Yeah.
But regardless, like the Europe had a clear bottom two in HGC, and like both the amateur teams, like the best amateur teams that qualified now, played on an entire different level. And I think what you asked about Europe amateur scene is compared to any amateur scene is like the same as most Europe professional scene compared to any professional scene. Like I think the Europe one is much more evolved, and I'm not sure if I don't know the exact word for it, but like it feels like we take it a bit more seriously from what I've heard, like with practice times and so on. I'm not talking for all teams obviously, but
no.
from what I've heard, it feels like Europe teams are more dedicated to improve, kind of.
Now,
I've always
Any
said
teams
that
more relaxed.
Europe plays more as a team and they play more as a unit, and NA plays as individuals. They're more prone to it.
Oh
Anyways.
yeah.
now,
Yeah, I heard that as well. That
yeah. Sorry, like another question like popped into my head to kind of follow up on that. Now, will EU teams like talk to each other? Like, hey, we kind of figured this out, or is that just part of the scrim process? Like, you'll notice they run a certain strat, and then like you try to counter that strat, and you guys kind of figure out how it works, which I think elevates the scene as a whole by this, you know, share. I'll call it sharing tech, like sharing like what meta ideas come out.
I don't think, at least we don't like write with other teams and say, hey, we play this. Like, I mean, want to keep some good things secret for important matches and so on. Like you want to stay ahead, but obviously since most teams are dedicated on improving, they try to figure out, oh, what did expert do here that was so strong, and they try to either replicate that and see how it works, or try to counter it the best way.
Right.
So there's no like chat for it where you just write all the strats or so on, but I think every team is dedicated on finding out like the best solution to counter or how to draft and so on, because I mean that's their job kind of.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, I think we'll wrap the interview up here. Thank you so much for your time. It's an amazing interview. We appreciate being able to pick your brain like we have.
No problem.
And I wish you all the luck next in the next phase. And I'll be cheering for you.
Thank you, and thanks for having me again. I don't know about like I don't know if you asked other people that said no or something. I have no idea, but my perspective on getting interviewed is like whenever I have time, I feel I owe it to the audience and fans and so on to actually like give them the content they want and so on. I'm not sure. I haven't watched your podcast, so I don't know how many people watch it and so on, but like I try to take most opportunities to like show myself, not for my sake but for others, since I am a public figure, and it's more entertaining for those who watch if they have like more info on the players and so on.
I'm not even blowing smoke. You were the first person I contacted because you were always a fun interview on HGC, so I was really excited that you got back to me.
Those interviews weren't really planned, but I'm glad they were entertaining.
Oh yeah,
Definitely
some people it
entertaining.
really shows it's not planned. You handle them with pretty good grace, so it's always fun. So that's our interview with BadBenny, and we'll see you next time.
Okay.
Alrighty.
Cool. That was a really awesome interview. Thank you, Balrog Fan and Zexorus, for putting that together. That was super fun to get that insight from BadBenny, and like Balrog Fan was saying, he is a really solid interviewer. So thanks once again, guys. Let us know what you guys think. Let us know on Twitter or in Twitch chat at Heroes Power Hour on Twitter. Any thoughts before we move on to our build of the week about that interview, and just what was said about it?
I know on my end, I just I'm happy with it. I think I can improve my interview process. It's going to take some practice and whatnot, but we're going to try to keep these coming to you guys the best we can. Anybody we can get set up and interview. Hopefully we'll be doing a lot more of this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and make sure to follow BadBenny, BadBenny Huts on Twitter if you're not already, as well as Team Expert. Thank you to the org for letting us interview him. That was super cool. But yeah,
definitely let him know that you watched and you enjoyed it. Let the org know. Just because he said at the end he likes doing this for people to enjoy and get an insight into the pro scene. So, give him the feedback that hey, it worked. We liked it.
Yeah,
I wish more pros were really out there, and he seems like he'll gladly take his time to share his thoughts and whatnot. So
yeah.
I mean, definitely make him feel good for that. We need more pros like that.
Most definitely.
Absolutely.
Alrighty, we are moving on to the build of the week, and it's going to be another support here, as we are going to go over the Druid Malfurion. Personally, my favorite hero. Really quickly, we're going to go over the abilities. Zexorus, are you excited?
Do the Moonfire build!
Oh my goodness. Every time tries to get me.
Moonfire build is
Moonfire
garbage.
build. Oh my goodness. Yeah, abilities. If you're not familiar with Malfurion, is probably one of the best supports in the game currently. Up there, I'd say at least up there with Uther. right now in this current meta.
Malf and Uther are 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah, it's unfortunately I will admit Malfurion is a better support.
But the abilities very very straightforward. Q is his regrowth. Heals a small amount initially and then a good amount, a pretty healthy amount, over 15 seconds. I remember when this got buffed, and it was very exciting for Malfurion players. W is the Moonfire, deals a bit of damage and reveals targets hit by it for a few seconds. And it has a pretty good range on it, so it's actually pretty decent at targeting down low health heroes. I've actually gotten kills that I probably shouldn't have with it. So it's a good skill to use and keep track of.
I always liked its ability to kind of quickly reveal a stealth unit if you catch the shimmer on the map too. That's always a nice little thing from it. And
it's a really short cooldown, 3-second cooldown, so you can use it a lot. Entangling Roots, probably what really makes him probably one of the best supports is Entangling Roots. Rooting enemies within the target area for 1.25 seconds and deals damage. And it grows over the 3 seconds, so people can, even if they're not in the center, can still get caught in the ring in it. So really great tool for even initiating fights or helping secure escape of your team. It's done a lot for me, and it's a really, really great ability to learn. Innervate is the trait.
Just real quick, jumping back to Roots, another big use that I like to use it for is zoning. I feel like it really creates favorable space for you to fight in lane and try to gain the advantage.
Yeah, most definitely. And then Innervate, use it on an allied hero, and 20% of the maximum mana is given to them over 5 seconds. And while affected by Innervate, their basic ability cooldowns recharge 50% faster. This is where being on a team that's communicating to each other really comes into play. If you can tell someone that you're about to innervate them and they're on a Li Ming or a Jaina or something like that, that burst potential is just that much more. And it's one of the more interesting skills because it's the only mana regen on a skill in the game. Just a disclaimer that it can't be used on yourself, so or you can use it on your teammates that use mana. Going to heroics really quick. Tranquility heals 80 health per second to allied heroes over 10 seconds. They're nearby you. You see a ring, it heals them up. Pretty straightforward. Twilight Dream, after a half-second cast, it deals a bunch of damage in the area around Malfurion, but the big thing is that it then silences those enemies, making them unable to use abilities for 3 seconds. And this was almost never picked until this passive got put in, where it increases Malfurion's mana regen by 1.25. We'll talk about during the talent breakdown which one we're going to be choosing over the other, but it should be pretty obvious if you've watched any Malfurion play recently. But interestingly enough, the level 1 talent is actually probably the one where you're gonna make some decisions on early on. Shando's Clarity, they're all viable in different situations. Shando's Clarity reduces the innervate cooldown by 8 seconds, so it allows you to sustain a laner much more, as well as just being able to use it more often helps a ton in team fights. Moonburn,
especially since it lowers cooldowns. It's nice to have a lower cooldown on something that lowers other players' cooldowns.
Yeah, exactly. Moonburn, that's the increased damage of Moonfire to minions, mercenaries, and monsters. And then Scouting Drone reveals an area for 45 seconds, can be killed. You get 2 charges of that. So, what situations are we going to use each of these talents in? Moonburn, you're going to generally take on maps that require many minions to be taken down for the objective. Stuff like Infernal Shrines is pretty key for Moonburn to be taken on. Scouting Drone, you're going to be wanting to use that against stealth heroes mostly, or you can even argue on larger maps something like Warhead Junction, just so you can see rotations a bit easier. It can really get you some huge value. But yeah, the level 1, I feel like you could make an argument for each of these talents depending on the map. So you really have to look at what you're up against and what your team has, and make the choice from there.
Yeah, I feel Shando's Clarity is like the safe pick, but definitely Moonfire, you might get stuck solo laning occasionally. As you said, you might be responsible for a little bit more monster damage, so...
Yeah.
And if your team doesn't have a Jaina or something that waves through really fast, and you're on Tomb or Dragonshire where you need to make really fast rotations, Moonbird just like, alright, we can rotate now.
Yeah. Yeah. The Cursed Hollow Scouting Drone's also really great at.
Yeah, that's true. Level 4. This is a no-brainer. If you don't take Elun's Grace, I will be very, very mad at you. Honestly, the other talents just should not be looked at. Elun's Grace increases your range on Regrowth, Moonfire, and Entangling Roots by 25%. This just allows you to play so much safer. And, like, this is probably the only talent here in the game that I'm like, just ignore the other talents, please, for the love of God. Just don't pick the other talents.
Jimmy is so fiercely for Elun's Grace. I actually did some research to figure out if there were any like builds out there that didn't take Elun's Grace, and I was only able to find one, and it was a full Innervate build called Blue Slurpee Machine Malfurion. So I don't think Jimmy is wrong here. Elun's Grace is definitely the pick.
Oh my God.
Unless you're going Blue Slurpee.
We should be going
Machine.
Blue Slurpee.
Okay, we gotta try this build now.
Changing the build.
Scrapping it. We're going Blue Slurpee Machine.
There we go. Oh my gosh. Level 7, 95% of the time you're gonna be taking Cleanse. If either the opposing team doesn't have anything that really doesn't need to be cleansed, which is pretty rare, or you're on maybe Sky Temple, you could use Mule. But
if they have no CC and you're on Sky Temple.
Yeah. Okay. There you
go. Or Mule is pretty good on. Is still actually really good on Haunted Mines.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, situational at best, but cleanse 95% of the time. Level 10 is your heroic. We just talked about Tranquility and Twilight Dream. 95% of the time you're going to be taking Twilight Dream. Tranquility does have some spots here and there. If you're noticing that people are just getting completely bursted down, maybe consider Tranquility, but Twilight Dream does such a good job just shutting down the opposing team and allowing you to really turn the tide on team fights. And that passive mana regen really helps keep Malfurion in lane or in team fights pretty much the entire game. And
I'd say there are situations where you still take Twilight Dream, but you have to be very careful, especially if they're like double bruiser or they've got a heavy. Or
he means Tranquility, not Twilight Dream.
No, I mean Twilight Dream. I mean, I think Twilight Dream is taken all the time, but I think you have to be wary about its use against certain comps that are like double tank and things where you can get trapped and blown up. You know, Stitches comps, like we ran into a Stitches comp when we were playing earlier today. So there are situations where you have to be careful in just using it to run right in and Twilight Dream hoping to set something up.
Yeah, and I would say be fairly aggressive on it. If Twilight Dream is going to secure you a kill on someone, I would suggest using it. Don't wait for that perfect 5-person Twilight. You're almost never going to get it pre-20 at least. So I would just, if you can get 2, then you're in really good shape. Just be careful about how you're positioning yourself, because you do have to be close for that Twilight Dream. And I know P-Flame wants to talk a little bit about that. It sounded like,
I mean, you mostly covered it, but like, you watch the HGC teams, Malfurion hits 1, maybe 2 people with the Twilight Dream. He doesn't try and run towards their Jaina and get her with a Twilight Dream, because if you do that, you die. So he's in like a big blow up comp, and you remove their ability. If it's like a Genji, you silence him, and he can't dash away anymore. He can't use any of his invulnerabilities, and now your team can kill him. And now it's a 5v4.
Yeah, most definitely. Level 13. Sorry, Zex, we're not taking full Moonfire.
Should be.
90% of the time, I'd say you take Ice Block. Shrink Ray, maybe? I haven't taken Shrink Ray in a very long time, but I'm sure there's a situation where you could argue for it.
I'd say Life Seed is good, just if you need that little extra heal.
Mm-hmm.
And you can afford to not get Ice Block.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Shrink Ray is a really, really powerful ability, but Ice Block is also a really, really powerful ability.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's tough because Shrink Ray is generally not going to get you as much mileage as Ice Block is, just in terms of your ability to survive being dove on.
It's a lot easier to know when to use Ice Block than it is to use Shrink Ray.
Yeah.
And, like, I think the visual... Like, there's a lot of times I Shrink Ray their Illidan or something. My team's just like, oh, let's ignore him. Let's just let him sit in, passively for 4 seconds, wait out the Shrink Ray, and then kill us.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of taking this time while he's not a threat to deal with the Illidan problem, and then move on.
I think Shrink Ray is good in situations where, like, oh, here's a Varian that's going Colossal Smash or Twin Blades, and we need to just kind of like be able to focus him out without him doing a ton of damage to our team and those kind of situations. But it's rare.
Yeah. If they've got like a single threat comp, where they're like, I'm gonna really buff this Illidan or this Greymane or this whatever, and you just Shrink Ray their single threat comp. That's it. But if they have a lot of stuff that's trying to kill you, Ice Block helps you, and you can only Shrink Ray one thing.
Right.
Yep.
Ice Block shields you from everything.
Yep. Moving on to 16, though. Most of the time, I'm taking Tenacious Roots. Gives you a much bigger radius for that to be laid down, and gives it a little bit of a duration boost. If you find that you're not really getting focused on and you're able to play really safe, Hardened Focused can be a better talent choice here because your abilities are coming off of cooldown much faster. So most of the time I take Tenacious Roots just because it makes it easier to land those roots, and it makes it a much better zoning tool. With that increased range. Yeah, don't take Lunar Shower, please. Level 20 though, heroic, the Storm talents. I 9 times out of 10 am going to be taking Storm Shield. I just love how this ability works and what it does for your team composition. But the other one you really should consider is also Bolt, especially if you're taking Twilight Dream. You can bolt in Twilight Dream and almost initiate a team fight for your team in that respect, and it can really catch teams by surprise. So I guess it's more if you want to be a little bit more defensive and tanky versus being a bit more aggressive. What are your guys' take on the Storm talents? Because he has 5 of them.
I mean, both the Storm is for the Reddit plays. Storm Shield is, I don't have burst healing. I don't have AoE healing. What does Storm Shield give me?
Both.
Burst AoE healing.
Yep. But yeah, that's a pretty straightforward build on Malfurion. He hasn't really changed for months now. Pretty standard support and still really high up in the meta. Draft spots for him pretty high up. I would say he's considered pretty high. If you're not able to grab him before the first or the second set of bans, expect him to get banned out. Probably if he's not.
You definitely want to get him in the first round of picks.
Yeah.
I know everybody wants to make your last pick take support, but if Malfurion is available and you're in the 2-3 slot or whatever, just pick him up. Your team will win.
Yep. So yeah, that's Malfurion in a nutshell. One of my favorite heroes, and there's the build I use. But yeah, well, let's talk a little bit about well, not a little bit. We have a lot of news to cover with HGC. We are waiting for the Mid-season Brawl? Or no, Western Clash. No, wait, what is it?
Mid-season brawl.
Mid-season Brawl. Okay, sorry. There we go. Yeah, Mid-season Brawl is coming up. We had our Crucible this last weekend. Both EU teams dropped their sets, and the amateur teams will be taking their spots. And both the NA teams defended their spots, which
I called it.
Yeah, Zexos did call this, in fact. Which result were you most surprised by, I guess? Anyone want to talk about what they thought about the games this weekend?
B Genius just getting absolutely trashed.
It was a pretty rough series. They just
got
did not look
swept
good.
4 straight.
Yeah.
Like, it was ridiculous. Like, and B Genius had been playing pretty strong recently. So for them, okay, sure, it's B Genius. They're bad. They shouldn't have got 4-0'd like that. They got done dirty.
What's weird is even BadBenny mentioned this, is they actually looked decent on those last few weeks at HGC. They had done I believe a roll swap, yeah, and we're looking okay. But geez, EU amateur teams just looked really good, and the NA amateur teams just did not look good at all, which was crazy.
Well,
and I guess I'm not surprised about that, because the top 2 teams from HGC NA Open didn't win the playoffs at all, so they didn't go to Crucible.
Also, when you look at it, like, the NA amateur teams were amateur teams, right? I didn't know like any of the names on there. But the EU amateur teams, it was like 8 old pros and 2 other guys or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm pulling these numbers out of my butt, but it was just, it was these like established players who'd been to LANs, who had, had all this competitive experience before playing in the Crucible. It's like, oh, okay, well, yeah, I understand why they can beat B Genius and Synergy. And you get the NA teams, and it's like, I don't know who these guys are. And this is an actual amateur scene. And yeah, I wouldn't expect, early in the esports scene, pure amateurs to top the HGC pros who have been in there for 10 weeks or whatever.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Like, I knew. I just knew. I knew Naventic were going to survive. I needed my villains to stay in the HGC. Otherwise, it was going to get really awkward for me. No Tomorrow might have been bottom 2, but that's still better than the top 2 NA amateur teams. Like, they made Even in Death just look straight foolish. It was ugly.
Yeah.
Like, Naventic had a bit of a fight on their hands a couple games, the 2 games they dropped, but even that game that No Tomorrow dropped, they still just looked good. And that's really hard to do, is when you drop a game and you're like, whatever, count on your partner for 1, I guess, or something like that.
Yeah, but let's talk really quickly, though. There's a ton of news that's been breaking since yesterday and today as well. There's probably something I missed for the show notes that we're not going to talk about that happened. But this kind of didn't surprise me too much, based on how B-Step got trounced by Team Freedom in the playoffs. But B-Step is dropping out of HGC. And so what does this mean? This means that Even in Death, even though they lost their Crucible match, is going to replace that vacated spot. This is due to the rules of Blizzard, because they won the open playoffs. So every match is important, clearly. So we are going to see Even in Death. We're going to see Collusion. We're going to see Battery in HGC Pro. Oh, this is interesting. But do you think Even in Death can make any sort of impact on HGC Pro?
This is the exception of the rule of averages. Even in Death's not going to win a single game.
I don't know about that.
No, Even in Death is going to get clowned every game. like No Tomorrow just trounced them, and every other team in HGC at this moment are better than No Tomorrow.
Okay, but let's think about it for a second. I'm not saying the first 4 weeks, even in death, they're going to look like garbage. I mean, I am saying that.
Yes,
But,
no, I agree with you.
So what happened was No Tomorrow and Be Genius started stepping up towards the end of HGC because they had, like we were talking about before this all started, it's like what happens when teams start to scrim each other consistently, start to have weekly exposure, and start to, like, oh, I get to play Gale Force. I get to play Tempest Storm. And Roll 20. No, that was Team 8.
Yeah.
So,
Spoiler.
you know, I think there's probably a 95% chance Even in Death ends up in next Crucible. But I also think there's a chance that after, 10 weeks in HGC, that they'll be a much better team and that they can maybe defend their spot.
I don't think getting rolled every game is going to teach them anything, even in scrims. It's just going to remind them they're bad.
I don't know. I think the practice will help them. I mean, it's not like half their team were pros before last year. So I don't see this being nearly as bad. I think it's just a practice issue. And I think as they practice more together, they'll improve. They're not going to crack the top 3. They're not going to crack the top 4 probably, but I think
they're
they'll
not going to crack the top 7.
We'll see though. I don't know if they'll totally crap the bed, but I think they'll surprise you a bit.
I don't think it's fair to judge a team that's played one game really that we've seen, because I haven't really watched any of the Open. So me personally, I've only seen them play one game, and I mean, I want to see more out of them. You can just have bad matchups against other teams. Mm-hmm. They ban the wrong person for your comp, whatever.
I guess to help prove Zex's point is they actually never won a week of HGC Open. So we'll see. It's just they won at the right time, and they.
How did they get into playoffs?
Points.
It was top 16 Open teams, single elimination bracket, and so they won through that. We're not done with the news yet, though. Niantic made 2 big announcements today. Kenma is no longer playing on Niantic and is stepping down to coach the team. And they added iDream, formerly of B-Step. And I know your first question is, wait, who's playing support? And they're putting big impact on support. So I'm now
moving Zuna back to ranged assassin.
Yes.
Until Biggie's spot, and iDream is still playing melee.
And so my question is, does this mean that they're putting Tomster on Warrior now?
Like, who else would you put on Warrior at this point?
That's what I'm wondering. I feel like that's not the greatest role for him.
What does B-Kid play?
Oh, wait. Maybe you're right. Okay, B-Kid can tank. But yeah.
And maybe Tomster's like their off tank if they run a double tank.
Yeah, I'm sure you can fill that role. But yeah, Niantic making some moves on their roster.
So they have a bad support who's now a bad coach.
Yeah.
To be fair, it is a different skill set to coach the game and play the game. And I have no idea what Kenma's coaching skills are.
Well, Niantic had more success when he was coaching.
Okay.
Playing.
Yeah, I mean. To play devil's advocate with the sports analogies, what great coach do you know that was like a spectacular player?
Steve Kerr. But these aren't the Warriors.
Was he an MVP?
No.
Okay.
But he's the only player coach that I can think of off the top of my head.
Okay.
Who's won championships.
Exactly. Like, I don't know. Maybe he's not a great coach. Maybe he's just on there because he knows Zuna. But maybe he's a good coach. I don't know. We'll find out.
Yeah, we'll find out. It makes things exciting for HGC going forward. Really exciting news, though, for the team that surprised everyone. Roll20 is sponsoring Teammate. If you're a long-time listener to the show, you'll remember we had, I believe, one of the founders of Roll20 on our show. It was very early on, probably in the 40s. You can go check out the archives, youtube.com/BlizzPro, and find that episode. But just talk to heroes with them. But yeah, Teammate does get a sponsor. I'm interested. I mean, obviously we won't know the details of it, but I'm curious what a company like Roll20 can provide for Teammate going forward. But that'll be good for them for the brawl, I think, and I'm excited to see.
Yeah,
see what that does for them.
They're getting sent out to Sweden for a boot camp here real soon.
Okay, that's.
I think they're flying out tomorrow, and that's going to help out like a massive amount. Like just to be able to have a sponsor who can afford to do these kinds of things for former teammate, like that's going to be huge. That's gonna improve their game a lot.
Yeah, most definitely. Any other thoughts on that?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm not a sponsor or an org or a player, so I can't speak to this. But I don't know how much, if Tempo Storm is giving their players a bonus salary on top of the 20K that Blizzard is giving them. But since Blizzard's paying them, I would assume the orgs, can get in for a little less and say, okay, yeah, we'll fly out to the occasional boot camp, and maybe we'll give you a salary, but it doesn't have to be enough to live on because you're already getting 20K. So we'll maybe supplement that with a little bit, and we'll fly you to a boot camp, and we'll buy you some shirts. And it's, and it is good for Galore and the boys. Whatever extra money they're getting, the boot camp is going to be amazing. It's good marketing for D20. So, they don't have to be able to fully fund 5 players to live for the year.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited to see how this turns out for them. And yeah, Teammate, I was surprised at how long they did not have a sponsor. Also in the news, Airho is looking for a team. Wonder who might pick him up, or if he's not going to be HGC anymore. We'll have to see, though. But best wishes for Airho. I'm looking for a team. As
Airho,
No Tomorrow,
Equinox, and Crowan are all free agents right now.
Yeah, and that leads into our next news story, as Gale Force Esports announced that they are dropping Crowan. Okay, I guess technically not dropping Crowan. Crowan is going to be a streamer for Gale Force and a sub for them. And Equinox was removed from the team. But the kind of interesting thing is that Crowan, pretty soon after this news of him being a streamer for the team and a sub, announced that he's looking for a team. And he's a player with just a caliber of play that he really should be starting on an HGC team. And obviously there's some teams looking for some things, and I'm really interested to see how it goes for him, because I was a little bummed that GFE moved him kind of to a tank role going forward. He played a lot of Muradin, but last year with GFE we saw him really excel on Li Ming, on Tracer, and those really high impact damage dealers. What do you guys think about this whole situation? And if you could pick 2 free agents, who would you pick up to solidify the GFE lineup? Zexrus.
I just want to say, Equinox, you almost did it, buddy. You almost broke your record. You were really close. The Ebros from was it
UTA?
Yeah. Thank you, UTA. That would be my first pick. They played incredibly well in Dorm. They looked really strong as a duo. It would kind of be dumb to break that duo up.
Yeah.
There's a lot of rumors of K1 and CAF going to GFE.
That was what I was thinking. I mean,
yeah. I mean, they did just disband. So, I mean, that's entirely possible.
Reddit theory is that GFE recruited B-Step, or recruited those 2 from B-Step, and B-Step either couldn't or didn't want to find or fill the holes, and that's why they disbanded.
Interesting.
We can ask Zoya.
I have no. I mean, I literally don't know anything. This is a bunch of people like, so what if on Reddit, So
Yeah.
Could be
I mean,
entirely incorrect.
Zoya's been pretty vocal here these past few days. We might actually get an answer out of him if we just tweet that question out to him.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Zoya creating a little bit of drama over the past week or so, but boy, it's been a crazy couple of days to be following NA Heroes Esports. Balrog fan, you've been a little quiet over there. What do you think of all these changes, all this movement? Is it healthy for NA? Is it a bad thing? Is it kind of whatever it is?
Oh, I mean, I think it's free agent season right now, and we're just going to get some shakeups moving in. I think we can expect these at most major breakpoints and moving in to various phases of HGC. It's definitely kind of exciting to watch now that I have more of a grasp on the individual players from watching HGC. So this roster apocalypse feels more meaningful to me personally, but I think it's probably good. It keeps things fresh. Just weird to get attached to a player and identify them with one team and then they're playing for something else later. So yeah.
Sorry about the regions, everyone.
Yeah.
P claimed she had a minor issue in the back, it seems. So he'll be back in a second.
Alrighty, but yeah, I don't know. It's been really crazy seeing all these changes lately, and I'm really excited to see the next phase of HGC Pro, and we'll have to see just how it all plays out, where everyone settles once the dust settles. And we're 2 weeks away from a little over 2 weeks. No, 1 week and some days away from the mid-season brawl. So
June 10th.
Yeah, June 10th. There we go. There we go. Thanks for saving me there.
No problem. Week and a half, buddy.
Week and a half. But yeah, I think that will be it for episode 103 of the Heroes Power. Thank you guys for joining us. Make sure to check us out on the BlizzPro YouTube channel, youtube.com/BlizzPro, for all your past episodes. If you check us out on the MP3 version, make sure you rate us 5 stars on iTunes. It really helps us out. Make sure you check out all the other wonderful BlizzPro shows on this network. Wednesdays at 6 p.m. is the West March Workshop for Diablo 3. All sorts of fun stuff happening in that game. Make sure you check out all the latest for the Necromancer and Season 11 coming up soon. Thursdays at 7 p.m. Pacific is the Payload Podcast, which is another podcast I'm a part of, talking all things Overwatch. Sundays, it seems to vary week to week, but make sure you follow Well Met to find out when they go live. But their episodes also go up on the YouTube channel. They talk everything Hearthstone and arcane analysis for World of Warcraft. Check that out on BlizzPro.com to hear new episodes there. As always, check out our Discord, discord.blizzpro.com, where we are hanging out all week talking about all the wonderful Blizzard games. And if you ever want to hit us up for games, that's a good spot to hit us up to play some games outside of the show. As a reminder, we've actually been changing things up a little bit. We're playing games before the show right now, so 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, and we're playing those with a little bit more how do I want to put this? Seriousness.
We're try-harding.
Yeah, try-harding. There you go. And Carl is back, so there we go.
I am.
Oh my goodness. But yeah, I think that is going to be it. Final thoughts on this week's show, Zextrus.
It was a good interview with BadBenny. I'm looking to hopefully get some more pros onto the show so we can grill them and find out what their thoughts on whatever current topics are going on at the time are. It was a lot of fun to do that interview. He's a great interview, honestly. He gave us some incredible answers on things. So
most definitely. P Flame G, before we go.
I'm personally kind of bummed that we had a roster dissolve now that HGC has started up. I'm just really hoping it isn't a problem in the future. Like I can understand if you get relegated and no tomorrow dissolved. Okay. But B-Step had their spot still. And this is because it wasn't an org. It was 5 guys and Zoya. So I understand that the team kind of broke up and so they're going to dissolve. But I'm really looking forward to more stability as the scene develops, such that teams that are still in HGC we'll still see back there.
Yeah, most definitely. Balrog fan, how about you?
Just keep playing the game. That's all I want to do.
There you go. There you have it.
It's fun. Get better. Get good.
Get good.
Get good. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm HGC should be interesting, but we got a little bit of break for that, so.
Most definitely.
Teammates gonna go all the way.
There, you heard it. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at Heroes Power Hour, and if you'd like to follow any of the hosts, our usernames are there on the video. And we will see you next week for more news from the Nexus. Stay tight.